voice yet. I can hear
Oh,
Liz's voice.
video should be on.
It's just dark there. I can see Joe. Hello, Joe. How are you? Rachel's smiling as well. Hello, Louisa.
Hi,
Where are
Oh,
you coming in from today?
I'm in Cheltenham.
Oh, lovely. Same as us.
Yes.
Lance. Oh,
Mm.
hello, Rachel. Lovely to see
Hi.
you both. What
Yeah.
time is it in over there?
It is
6
6 a.m.
a.m.
Oh, look at you.
Okay, so
Massive
you better
kudos.
feel lucky. This
I
better be
do.
good,
I
Laura.
do. I do. I feel incredibly blessed to have you beaming in. How's the snow? Do you have snow?
We don't have snow in Florida. However, we are having a record-breaking expected low temperature today.
Really? So
Yeah,
what does that
so it
mean?
was about 35 yesterday. Today it is currently 3 degrees.
Okay.
Oh,
Wow. Wow. So heating on, fire going,
I
hot
think we
mug.
have heating in our house. It's never kicked on before. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, it's lovely to have you.
wow.
Hello, Mike, coming in from Bristol. How are things for you? Are you warm and cozy there?
Absolutely freezing.
Are you?
That's because we live in England. It's not that cold, but our houses are no good and the windows are drafty
Yes.
and cold.
Yes. Well, well done. You've got your woolly on. That's
I
always a good
have,
idea.
yeah.
Becca's just down the road from me. Becca, are you warm? That's the important question today.
I've just had a shower and some hot eggs, so yeah, I am quite
Oh,
warm.
eggs. Eggs are key, aren't they? They're like a kind of boiler room inside you, aren't they? If you have a couple of eggs in the morning. Alison, hello. Long time no see.
Hi, yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it?
Are you in a
Good
sauna
to see
today?
you.
We're talking about heat and everyone being warm and cozy.
Yeah, not in a sauna, no, but I am in a wooden sort of log cabin setup. So yeah,
Does it stay
quite warm in here.
cozy? Does it stay
Yeah,
nice and
just
cozy? Yes.
yeah.
Maybe that's what we need to do, Mike, is build a log cabin, even a sort of small wardrobe of some kind made out of wood. Hello, Adam. You're in your hat, so you're nice and cozy. How's the day going so far for you?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's been lots of things all happening at the same time, but now it's this. So
Good. You can calm down. Okay. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm really excited about it and bringing all of you lovely people together from all over the place. Rachel, what are you up to today? Anything exciting going on at the moment in general or specifically today?
Yeah, I'm in a show, so I've got a panto rehearsal this evening that I'm happy to go to.
Oh my word. Tell us more. What are you playing? What role are you playing?
I'm playing Maid Marian, and we're in Nottingham, so that's kind of appropriate.
You've just made Lance and Rachel's day. They're Americans. You've just done an English reference. They're suddenly feeling all quaint and cozy about Britain. When was the last time you guys were over here? Quite a while ago.
It's,
it's been
well, I
it's
think
been 20 years for me, I think,
yeah, well, I'm trying to think how old my daughter is. Probably
because she's 7.
16 or 17. Oh,
Right.
no, probably 15 years for me.
15 years. Due a visit, I would like to say.
I,
Charlotte,
I've been
hello.
told.
How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you.
Good.
Lots on this week, so squeezing this in,
Good.
but trying to
Good.
stay calm and
You're
just
good.
juggling lots.
Yes. Well, lovely to have you and well done taking some time out for some input because that's always a good thing. Hello, Julie. Where are you coming in from today?
Hi, so I'm in Edwinstowe. Just down the road from Sherwood Forest. So Maid Marian, I work in her team, and so I'm literally just down from the Major Oak. Also on a riverbank. So if you see me keeping looking to the side, we've got a storm at the moment, living on a riverbank is absolutely beautiful until it isn't. Until you're watching the river rising and wondering if it's going to come up the garden. So yeah,
Yes.
stormy Edwinstowe today.
Oh, I'm getting sort of Toad of Toad Hall images of
Um,
Mr. Beaver and things on the riverbank. So
well, we have plenty of wildlife, and we might see a heron fishing, sort of flying by and things like that. But actually, it's a bungalow on a riverbank. There's no toad hall, sadly.
oh, love it. That sounds great. Jenny, hello. How are you today? What's going on in your world? can't hear you. I think you're on mute, Jenny.
Apologies. I was just saying that I couldn't hear you for the first 5 minutes, so I've had to leave and come back again, and I can hear you all now. So apologies for missing some of the introductions. So yeah, I don't know if it was an introduction, but I'm Jenny. I'm happy. I've just come out of an exec meeting for a couple of hours, so I've just raced into this one. So feeling a little bit overwhelmed, but happy to be here and to see you, Laura.
Lovely to have you all. It's so wonderful. Thank you so many of you for responding for this workshop today. I am really excited about the content we've got today and what you're all going to do with it, and also about you meeting one another. There will be lots of time to chat in your breakouts, and then we'll have some feedback. And I hope you don't mind, just as expectations as we're about to launch in. The way that I like to do it on Zooms is the Socratic method. So rather than have everybody waiting for each other to speak and then muting and then forgetting to mute, I'm just going to ask you. So I'm just going to say, right, Mike, what do you think? What did you come up with? Now, please feel free to pass. If you don't want to speak at that point, or you don't feel you've got anything to add, then just pass and I'll move on to the next person. However, if you have something you would really like to share, I love volunteers as well. So just please put on your thumbs up or your hands up emoji onto your screen so we can come to you. I hope that's okay, but I've just found through doing lots of these that that's the best way to work. So we'll give that a go. So I will pick on you, but feel free to pass. Okay, everyone ready? Give me a thumbs up. Just if you're ready to go, ready to launch in, great. So excited. I'm just going to introduce Claire as well, who's on the call with me. Claire's going to be helping with breakouts and all sorts of tips as she goes. She's a fellow coach with me as well. So you'll have lots of input today from people and from each other, and we're going to all learn together as well. So let's start by jumping into the slides for today. And as we do so, we're just remembering that today's topic is all about the art of giving and receiving feedback. So I'm just going to pull up and share my screen. Let's get across here. Here we go. So thank you. This is what you have signed up for today. And you can see that it says here that it's powered by Giant. And in case you don't know, Giant are a worldwide company. It's a coaching company who are international, and we work with all sorts of different companies all over the world. So these tools are tried and tested throughout loads of different contexts: business, non-profits, small, independent, massive organizations. So they work because people is people, right? So wherever we are, these things work for people. So be confident in the material that we're going to show you today. But actually, it's all about how we apply it, isn't it? So what are our objectives for today? I'll whiz through these quickly because I think you'll have seen this. It's one of the reasons that you probably were attracted to this workshop. We're going to learn how to receive feedback healthily, or more healthily than we do. We're going to calibrate, support and challenge when giving feedback. Those are two key words for us who work with Giants. So some of you already know that phrase very, very well. We're going to communicate feedback effectively across different personality types. We will just reference personality types quite generally today because not everybody has the same lens for personality, but I think that will become apparent. We're thinking a lot about ourselves and how this links with us. So that's where it comes into play. There's two key words as well with feedback: intention, motive, and impact, what actually happens. So those two things are both super important. So we'll make reference to those two words throughout. And then finally, I used to be a teacher, so I always like to give homework. And the homework will be to create a personal growth plan. So towards the end, I'd love you to be thinking, what are my next steps? And I assure you, if you're curious today, if you are looking for a way that you can just tweak or change to become an even more healthy version of you, you will find it on this call. I have absolute confidence in that. But I'll do my very best. Claire and I will do our very best to communicate these things to you. But we just ask in return that you do your half as well. And that could start by switching off notifications, if you will, and phones and so on. So just making sure everything is muted and off. So check your phone. Is it on silent? And don't have your emails bunging in because it'll just distract you and you have given up your time. So I really want to make sure you get the most out of it you possibly can. Okay, so a bit of content and then we'll see if there's any questions before we go into a breakout. So off we go. So for today, the question we're asking whenever we talk about feedback, the definition of feedback that I like the most is this: what is it like to be on the other side of me. And it's very hard for us to know what it's like to be outside of us looking in. And that's what we're looking for whenever we think about feedback. I think that's a really lovely definition, and one just to have an awareness of as a mindset. Socrates, who I've already quoted today, obviously I'm a big fan, said this: know thyself. So whenever we're thinking about feedback, that's a great place to start. Do I know myself? If I know myself, then I'll be curious about my tendencies. Now, this is a tool that those of you who've done some work with us or with Giant before will know quite well. It's called Know Yourself, Lead Yourself. It's a great little phrase. And it starts right here at the bottom of the tool with that keyword tendencies. If I know my tendencies, then I will know how I show up time and time again. And there are quite predictable consequences, really, of my actions. And that informs my reality. Now, what's the definition of madness? It's doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? So some of us will do that. But what can we do if we don't want the reality that we found ourselves in? Or if we'd like to improve or trade up our outcomes? Well, we can't change our tendencies. Our tendencies will rarely, if ever, change. They're hardwired. They are very, very much about personality and about the nurture story that we carry. But we can change where that dotted line is, that far bottom right space, the patterns. We can make an intervention. We can put something in place, and it can be something small. One of my favourite phrases is this: do not despise the day of small things, the day of small beginnings. And that's a great phrase because it reminds us that even a small intervention can lead to a very positive outcome. It can be like a ripple effect for ourselves, our team, our family, and our whole organisation, even our whole community as well. So what can we do as an intervention on the way to our action that can lead to better consequences and a better reality? And that's our goal today, is to look for not a revolution, not a personality complete change and transformation, but actually just one small or two small pattern changes that will have better consequences. And we're going to look for those in two different ways today. We're going to look for a small pattern change in the way we receive feedback, and we're going to look for a small pattern change a bit later in the way that we transmit feedback. But we're going to start, first of all, on that right side. We're going to start with receiving feedback, because if we're going to give it, we have to take it. And lots of us are on this call because we want to be better at giving it, but it starts with being better receivers of feedback, in my opinion. So here's a little challenge for us at the start. If a person is insecure, no amount of care in giving feedback will make it acceptable. Let me put that in the first person. If I am feeling insecure, no amount of care or intentionality or kindness in the way the feedback comes to me is going to make me want to accept it or want to use it and change and grow. So that's a really important place for us to put some curiosity today, is where are we at in terms of our security? So here is a great tool. And this tool is called the responsive person, and it contrasts two forms of me. Okay, the me that I don't want to be is the resistant me, that one that's resistant to feedback. And that is sort of three characteristics that we've sort of thought are quite helpful to be aware of when we think of resistance. It's insecure, arrogant, and prideful. Now, that insecure, secure dichotomy is an interesting one, isn't it? How can I move from being insecure to secure? Well, I need to think about what my security is based on. On what am I basing my identity? Am I clear on who I am? Am I clear on what I have to offer? Am I clear on what I am and what I'm not? Because that leads into the next dichotomy as well, arrogant to confident. An arrogant person wants to think that they're the best at everything. But a confident person is able to say, these are my strengths. This is what I'm good at, but I'm not good at everything. And that's quite helpful. So that's, again, a little plug for knowing ourselves. If we haven't done any work on personality, I really encourage you to do the quiz in the email. It's free, takes 15 minutes, but it's a great start to get you on that personality journey. So just if you've done some work before on personality, just be thinking now, maybe jotting down 2 or 3 characteristics. What are the things you bring at your best? What do you know you're good at? What do you enjoy? What energizes you? Rather than focusing on what we're not good at or thinking we're good at everything, actually knowing confidently what we bring is a great way to be secure enough to receive feedback. And then we have finally the third dichotomy here, prideful to humble. And someone who's proud actually can find it very hard to receive constructive feedback because that can feel like it interferes with them or makes them feel afraid. But actually true humility embraces vulnerability. Now, if we're a leader here today, I'm not talking about the kind of vulnerability that shares too much, that kind of shares the contents of our entire handbag with everyone we see, but actually appropriate vulnerability, recognizing that we haven't got it all, that we're weak in a particular area, or perhaps we're not having a great day. Appropriate vulnerability is warm and it attracts others as well, to be honest with us. So there's vulnerability with humility rather than pridefulness, which is fear-based actually. So we want to be that responsive person, and it's green for liberation. It's green for growth. If we're secure, confident and humble, then we're going to be in the good space to receive healthy feedback. I'm just going to pause there and just see, are there any hands up along the line? Any questions so far? Okay, fine. Let's move on then to the next tool in our how to receive feedback lens. What am I afraid of losing is the first question that we're encouraged to ask when we think about self-preservation. If I am being insecure, if I'm feeling threatened by feedback, then the chances are I'm actually thinking about one of these 3 questions. So just be having a feel around as you look at these 3 questions. Do any of these 3 questions feel resonant for you? Often if I'm resistant to feedback, it's because I'm afraid of losing something. What might that be? It might be the reputation I've really striven hard to establish, a reputation of being someone who's good at something. And actually I might be afraid of losing that reputation if I accept some feedback that suggests that I could improve. Second question, what am I trying to hide? Okay, and when you're trying to hide something, if someone speaks to you and you're resistant, when you try and hide something, it's a bit like having your hands behind your back. Now, we have a very evolutionary reaction to someone with their hands behind the back. For centuries, that could have suggested that someone was carrying a weapon. And it's the same with when we're trying to hide something. It makes people feel slightly suspicious and on edge and less able then to bring their best. So if I can bring my hands out and try to be open-handed, what am I trying to hide? I don't need to hide anything if I am withholding, if I'm trying to lean in to not being in that self-preservation zone. I remember when I first started to pitch for clients as a coach, and I was quite afraid. I was trying to hide the fact that my background was in education and non-profit, and I thought that might undermine my influence with people in the corporate sector. But guess what? When I tried to hide it, I didn't tend to get those clients. But when I was next asked, I had a bit of feedback about it, and it helped me just to grow. And I realized actually I need to reframe what I perceived as a weakness as a strength. So when I began to say, I'm from education, and actually that helps me to be a really good communicator and a good mentor as well. That's what I have in my background, but I don't have experience in your particular sector, but I do have this to bring. I found that clients were much more likely to say yes. So what are you trying to hide? And can you reframe that as a strength? That can always be very helpful for receiving feedback. Finally, what am I trying to prove and to whom? Okay, so is there somebody in your life, in your work space, maybe even someone from childhood? I asked someone this question recently, very, very successful dental surgeon. What are you trying to prove and to whom? And he said, I think I'm probably still trying to prove something to my father. So who is it in your life that has that voice that means that you actually might be fearful or trying to hide or trying to prove something, which actually makes you resistant to feedback? And those are 3 great questions So in our coaching world, those are 3 questions we might ask ourselves in front of a mirror before we have, an important call or a new workshop or a new client call, anything where we feel slightly insecure. Those 3 questions are great questions to run through in order to make sure that you are moving from insecure to secure. And you're moving into that place of confidence and humility as well. That will give us relationship. That will build our influence. And the wonderful thing is, if we can find ourselves moving into that responsive place, secure, confident, and humble, even if someone has something to bring us that is a bit challenging, where we recognize we didn't do as well as we possibly could have done, there is some room for improvement there. If we respond like this, their estimation of us will actually go up as a result of that feedback, not down. It will go up. They'll come away thinking, wow, I knew that person was good, but now I see actually what it's taken to get there. And I'm glad I gave them the feedback to make them even better. So there's just a couple of lenses, those 2 tools. And hopefully you're feeling excited, but also maybe a little bit uncomfortable. That's okay. That's where growth happens. So don't be worried if that's what you're feeling right now. So to summarize, before we jump into any questions and then a breakout, when we're receiving feedback, here are some important principles. Be open. We need to take the initiative to receive feedback. We don't want to just wait and be on the back foot and hope it will happen, because chances are it probably won't. And if we're a leader today, leaders rarely, if ever, hear the truth from their people. For all sorts of reasons, people are reluctant to give honest feedback to leaders. So we need to invite it, we need to initiate it, and that's quite empowering. We can take control of when it happens and how it happens. We can give our preferences. And let's ask people who aren't just people who are like us or who like us, but other people as well. People who we think actually they may well have an axe to grind or something that I could learn from. Go ahead and invite feedback, because you will grow your influence by doing so. Second principle here, be curious. So don't react immediately. And this is an intervention that's been really helpful for me in my Know Yourself, Lead Yourself journey. Rather than trying to react immediately, do some digging, pause, tell me more, okay? Can you give me an example? I need to be careful how I say that it's not, well, give me an example, but can you tell me more? That's really helpful. Thank you for letting me know. And maybe ask a clarifying question, even if I disagree initially about it and feel like I want to be defensive. I need to recognize that it's a valid perspective. It might not be my perspective, but the fact that that person is bringing it to me means other people will think that too. So it's valid, it's helpful, it's a mirror, and it's a way that I can grow my influence. So that's helpful. Be curious. Thirdly, be self-aware. Ask yourself, maybe when you go away and reflect on it, have I heard this before? Do I have a tendency here? I'll never forget being on a board, and I felt in a couple of the calls that we'd had, it was during COVID time, so lots of the calls were on Zoom for the Board of Trustees, that the chair was shutting people down, and there's a bit of a pattern. And the chair was a good friend, someone I really respected. So I sort of put my big girl pants on and I gave them a ring. And I said, I just want to, thank you for this and that. These are the things you're doing well. But can I just say that I feel as though you've shut a couple of people down on the call? And I gave a couple of examples. Always be ready to give examples if you need to. And there was a pause on the phone call. And then this lovely guy said, do you know what? I have heard that before. I've heard that before back when I was working at X. I had that feedback then. So I know you're telling me the truth. Thank you for bringing me that feedback. So what a great model. I mean, that is a great example of my respect for him went from here to here. I thought, wow, that's so impressive. And it was a great model for me to follow as well. So ask yourself, do I have a tendency here? Have I heard this before? And then also another one, that's the challenge bit, but this is the support bit. Recognize that it's hard. Be kind to yourself. It stings a bit. It will never not sting a little bit. Sometimes it'll sting a lot. But can you bring yourself some self-care? Celebrate. Okay, I found that hard. And I know that these feelings were rising inside me, but I asked them to give me more, and I went away. So can you give me a bit of time to go away and think about this? Well done me. well done me. I'm proud of myself. I'm pleased with myself because I didn't handle it with defensiveness. I handled that well. Good on me. I'm going to grow. And that's the last one. Be accountable. How can we make sure that this leads to growth? Talk it through with a buddy. This is another part of bringing self-support. Who is kind? Who are your supporters? Who will tell you the truth? Talk it through with them. Always look for a takeaway and ask for accountability for applying it to grow you. See it as something that is helpful. See it as something that is social. Don't just keep it in your own head. Get it out somehow, especially if you're finding it hard. Use a journal, use a friend, and actually make sure you deal with it straight away so that you can get that growth and that takeaway. Come up with something specific that you can do to apply it. So those are my top tips. I can't claim credit for them. I have gathered them from amazing people who I have researched and chatted to in preparation for this workshop. So those are the things that I've come up with so far. So I hope those are helpful ones for you. And remember that what we've been looking for is a tendency perhaps that we have and something that we might think about being more intentional about. So maybe you want to take a screenshot of that summary of where we've got to so far. Maybe you already have. Maybe you've jotted down something, but try and capture something. Here's something that I tend to do when I'm receiving feedback so that you're aware. And that's going to form the basis of our breakout one. So maybe again, screenshot this if you will. What is your tendency when receiving feedback? So let's keep the conversation in the first breakout to us receiving feedback and why. And I want you with this to celebrate your strengths as well. So say what you're good at, but also be honest about what you find hard about feedback. So have you all got a screenshot of the question? I can pop it into the chat to send round in a minute as well. Okay, back in the room. Thank you for listening so well. And there was quite a lot to take in there on that first round. Are there any questions before we go into some external processing of the receiving feedback content? Any questions for me? Nope. Okay, wonderful. Mike has one. Yeah, just take yourself off mute. Come on in.
Thank you so much, Laura. Just a lot of what you said was, forgive me if I've misheard this, but kind of assuming negative feedback. Do you have anything to say on receiving positive feedback well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, Mike. I love that question. I think being gracious and rather than batting it away and say, oh, no, it was so-and-so, actually saying thank you. Thank you is my best response to receiving positive feedback is thank you very much. And, inside I might be saying, oh, well done to my friend Maria because she gave me that brilliant top tip. And I might say, actually, there was a team effort to it, but I appreciate that. But actually just saying thank you and receiving it with grace would be my top tip. But Mike's a great question. Anybody want to take themselves off mute or put your hand up? Anyone else got a response to that? Anything to add? Maybe it's something we can pick up on in the breakouts and bring it back afterwards would be great to do. But it's a great question. I think, Mike, I assume people don't need as much help with the positive stuff. And perhaps that's true, but they do need help, don't we? We do need help with receiving it. I'll have a bit more of a think about that in the breakout as well. Okay, yeah. So Claire, over to you to jump into breakouts. Enjoy meeting somebody new, getting to know them, and then sharing really your tendencies with regards to receiving feedback. So I'll see you all on the other side. While you're going off, as you go, do feel free to go. I'm just going to remind you of the question. What is my tendency when receiving feedback? And we are celebrating strengths as well as being honest about our tendencies that are hard or things we find difficult about it. I'm going to go straight in as people come back. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Any thoughts from you? Or you can pass.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I talked about how the anticipation of the receiving of feedback is probably coloured a little bit by my remembering a difficult receiving of feedback. So I think my very sort of human nature now is to have a sort of slightly nervous anticipatory feeling, but taking on board the things that you said. And again, with my nature being slightly to remember the harder stuff more than I remember the easier stuff. And we were talking in our breakout about the imbalance of that, and that actually, so that I can be nervous perhaps in
Very
anticipation.
good. Julie, that's so helpful. It's really important, isn't it, to recognize that we bring baggage from previous feedback, perhaps where it hasn't been done so well. And so we're never not going to feel uneasy, even if the only thing we're hearing is positive, we're still going to feel a little bit vulnerable. What's coming next? Are they buttering me up here? So it's just something to lean into, isn't it? It's something to say, just to say to ourselves, give us that support. I know this isn't going to feel brilliant, but it's okay. You know, think about how we can bring that self-support to ourselves as well. Great start, Julie. Thank you. And as I say, I'm going to pick on people, but pass if you want to, please do. Kirsty, we'll come to you next.
Yeah, similar to Julie, I think I tend to hone in more and like let the even if it's not necessarily negative, if I've perceived it to be negative, that'll linger for quite a long time with me, or I'll analyze and I'll really overthink it. Whereas with positive things, which could be out of one negative out of 20 positive, I'll sort of, oh, thank you, and bat that away.
Yes.
But
yes.
I love what you said about just, you know, accepting it with grace and holding it. It's important that we give that positive feedback as much space that we're giving the negative.
Yes.
So yeah, that's my tendency that my small pattern that I'd like to change.
Kirsty, I like your phrase, hold that, you know, that to hold that. So be thinking, how can I hold it? What can I practically do? And I know that a number of people keep a journal and they keep a celebration journal. And you can do this really easily at night. And I've been through seasons where I've done this, where I've just literally put 3 ticks and I've tried to celebrate 3 things from that day. Try to just be grateful for the way I've shown up or by what someone has said, 3 blessings, and then maybe an exclamation mark is my learning opportunity that day as well. And I have found that ratio of 3 to 1 to be really helpful. I've actually got that from primary school, you know, from the kids when they were younger. I think they used to have a phrase, 3 stars and a wish. And I think that's a really healthy ratio, but you know, you adapt that for yourself. Really good. Louisa, let's come to you next. Any thoughts on any of this stuff about receiving feedback?
Yeah, I think that I take it differently depending on who's given me the feedback. And maybe I need to not think about that so much. But it's difficult because you do get certain people that criticize more than other people, and then you don't always take that as seriously. But maybe they've still got a point. It's just that they sound more negative than other people.
Yes, excellent, Louisa. That's really good. So weighing it, you know, weigh the feedback and think, well, their tendency is to be quite overcritical. So I'll just use that to just weigh how I receive this. But actually, if they are saying something, then there's something to be heard, is what I'm hearing you saying. Yeah. Might also be an opportunity for you to give them some feedback on how they do feedback.
Yes. Try and make them positive.
Make it a win-win. Yeah. Maybe not immediately because that'll sound offensive, but perhaps at a later date. That could be really, really helpful.
Yes.
They may not realise how they're coming across.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny, let's come to you next. Any thoughts from you on receiving feedback?
I think in our chat room, I was saying that from a very early part of my career, we were always told to ask for feedback, whether it's on your department or your work. So I think that because I've been doing that for multiple years, I've become quite resilient to feedback in a positive way. So exactly what I love what you said, Laura, about, you know, saying thank you regardless of the feedback, you know, and being humble. That's really important to me, that if somebody receives it well, they don't need to jump and say but you know, or defend themselves, because that doesn't change the feedback. It just kind of makes the other person want to give more feedback. Yes. But that, you know, so I think just, you know, being I tend to just sit with it for a while. I pause a little bit. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to know more about that. If somebody feels aggrieved about something, not necessarily about me, but perhaps my team, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I will go away and I'll look into that a little bit. Just being very gracious with the feedback that I'm given, because it is worth a lot of, in my mind, not money, but it's worth a lot.
Yes.
People pay a lot of money to get good feedback, and I always think it's really important that we give it to feedback is a gift, isn't it? So receiving it and giving it is just really, really important.
Some great phrases there, Jenny. I hope people were jotting those down. Feedback is a gift, and the resilience to it as well. I think the more we do it, the more we lean into it and ask for it, then the easier it gets, is what I'm hearing, Jenny, which is a very encouraging message, actually.
And I've seen some people really transform through feedback, where initially they're very upset, upset by it, but actually they are now referring back to it a year later, going, thank God I got that feedback, because I really, I'm able to do X, Y, and Z. So I think it's, as a lot of people have said, it's always easy to criticize yourself and think that you failed, but actually in 6 to 9 months to a year, you'll be really grateful for that feedback, and you've done something positive with it.
Very good. Love that. Becca, let's come to you next.
So I kind of came on this because I get quite defensive when I get feedback. And I think that's a response of being quite scared and feeling quite vulnerable, and having had some feedback that wasn't direct feedback from the person, but was from someone above that person, and wasn't given in the right place or at the right time, was kind of delayed, and was in a meeting that was a one-on-one but wasn't the right forum for it. So I think that has, and I had a lot going on at the time as well. It wasn't just that, but I think that's just made me quite defensive about getting feedback, and quite vulnerable, and maybe the vulnerability is slightly hidden, and comes across as quite defensive.
Really good.
So that was my experience really of feedback. But I have had a lot of feedback in the past. I was reflecting when we came back into the group. I'm a children's nurse, and one of the ways you kind of get through that course is a lot of practical stuff, obviously, and you have you're given feedback all the time, regularly, in the moment, just after something's happened, and I was absolutely fine with that, and actually that made me grow as a nurse. So I think how it's given in that moment by that right person in that right space, it was really key for me, and then that's really impacted that bad feedback on me, and I have to really think about, if someone's going to give me feedback now, try not to be defensive. So yeah.
Well, I love that you've leaned in. Sorry?
Quite deep, this course.
Very good. It is. We always go deep.
Good.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, come on. None of us have got very much time. Let's make it worthwhile. Let's go for it. But Becca, what I love is that you haven't hidden behind that. You haven't fumbled it. You've gone, okay, I'm going to put that out there. You've externally processed it. You have lent in, and you've already taken some ground today. And that's really exciting to hear you do that. Great. We've got time for one or two more. So please put up a hand if you really have something you'd like to share about receiving feedback. If not, I'll definitely come to you with the giving of feedback. Anybody? Definitely. Mike, let's go.
Yeah, we had a really helpful chat, because my puzzle is that I feel I really want feedback, but I know my colleagues find it quite difficult to give me feedback. And I think it's they feel I'm quite defensive. I recognize that I hate being misunderstood. And so I often think, well, hold on, you haven't asked me questions about why I did that, the thinking behind that, the context. And so when I ask questions like, can you tell me more, or can you give me an example, my interrogating their feedback, I think, feels a little bit defensive.
Yes.
And actually, Lance was great at giving me some other phrases, like, not just tell me more, but can you say a bit more about that? In other words, not your evidence doesn't stack up, but let's go deeper into that thing, rather than I need to hear more, this is not very persuasive. So that's the thing I'm really wrestling with, is I want feedback, but I definitely come across like I don't. And I think it's often this thing of I want there to be a better understanding of what exactly happened here.
Yes.
But my pressing for that can be a bit defensive. So I'm trying to find the better phrases, and Rachel used a good phrase of like, just take a beat, pause.
Yes. Yeah.
And then ask questions that are going to help kind of unpack it maybe a bit
So
more
good. Mike,
calm.
yeah, you don't sound offensive on this call. You sound really vulnerable. And what a great example, really, of being aware of your tendency and leaning in and saying, I want to be better at this. And thank you, Lance, and Rachel for giving those brilliant tips as well. Well, keep listening out, Mike, because hopefully you'll hear some more phrases to use. And those phrases, language is so important, isn't it? So sometimes it is just having the right phrase that will unlock somebody else to help us. And that might be another thing that comes to mind for me. What I heard as you were speaking there, Mike, was, can you help me? Can you help me, please? Owning it as our own weakness. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions because I really want to understand this better. Please don't take it as me reject. I really want to hear what you have to say. Is that okay? So it's thinking of some phrases so that we come across as someone that wants to partner in them giving feedback, because if you've had to give feedback, it's never easy to do, is it? If it's hard feedback, if it's critical, constructive feedback, we can often feel reluctant to do it. Adam, come on in.
I was just thinking, I don't know if this is a helpful thing in the way that I operate or not, but I realised that pause thing is because we're not wanting to go with our first instincts, like whether that's often kind of to go, take a breath, and I see that we can do some work in that moment by digging a little deeper with the person. But I know I tend, wherever feedback comes from, and it came up in our conversation, that I work in a church up front, so as well as team people that we're working with, literally anybody who's in the church can come up and talk to me, and I lead music, so everyone's got an opinion on whether they like the music or not, whether it's too loud, too quiet. So I'm the first port of call. But I just have a tendency, not just with this, but with other things, on not giving everything too much weight in that moment. And it gets kind of put in a mixing pot, I guess, almost with everything else that I'm hearing. I guess as a Christian as well, I'm wanting to hear, what does God think about this and what's he saying? Because what he says about me is more important. So all that kind of stuff. But I realised that the bulk of the work that I do is not in that moment when someone's giving me feedback. So it's kind of wanting to get the most out of that moment just then that will enable me to do that work somewhere else in a much healthier place. And because of that, I was saying to Louisa that I was talking to, I actually try to thank everybody in the moment, whoever they are, for the feedback, whether it's negative or positive, and kind of just, and so the thank you is the thing to the response. So
that's so good. Really love that. Thank you. Let's hear one more. I've just been signed out of my slides. So Claire, could I ask you just to ask for one more comment from the floor while I just get signed back in, please?
Anybody have a pressing comment that they would like to add? We've got silence. Joe and Alison, I thought you were putting your hands up then, but you're just picking your hair.
Yeah. No, I'm happy to share one thing, is that when we're thinking about feedback, we're often thinking about a kind of sit down moment where we know that feedback's now about to come because we've said we're going to give some feedback, or we've said, can I just give you some feedback? Whether it's positive or negative, but sometimes it's a bit ad hoc, isn't it? It's a bit sort of in the moment. Someone will say, well, can I just give you some feedback, or my view on, and it just being on this call's made me realize that that's the time where I've really got to pause and just ask, well, can you give me a bit more example? Because often there's something else going on there. It can be a little bit aggressive maybe, or it's a sort of batting away. So sometimes it's intentional and it's planned and we're ready for it, or it's a setting that's usual for it. But often in life, we're getting bits of feedback chucked at us when we're not expecting it. And so I'm interested how I might take some of these tools and apply those then as well. Just can think of an example in the week where someone just threw a bit of feedback and I thought, hang on, that's not what's going on here. You're batting something back at me. But it was something they wanted to bring. So what do I do with that in that moment?
Very good. Okay, keep going with those questions. I'm all signed back in now, and we're about to jump into how do we give feedback. So hang on to your seats. And again, we're going to move at speed through some tools. So this is the bit where you want to just hold your eyelids awake with matchsticks if you need to, because this is the good stuff. So we've looked at receiving. We're now thinking about transmitting feedback and what do we need to be aware of when we are doing it. So once again, we're thinking about what our tendencies are. What are my tendencies when I am giving feedback to others? They might be some similarities with receiving, but there might also be different as well. And here is a helpful phrase to keep in mind as we sort of dig into this time. Speak the truth kindly. Speak the truth kindly. And there's two dual aspects there that are massively complementary, aren't there? We need to tell the truth. When we don't tell the truth, there are consequences and others don't get to grow. But when we do it kindly, then it's much more palatable. It's much more easy. So be thinking about that phrase, speak the truth kindly, and think about what your tendency is. Do you tend to be more kind, or do you tend to be more truthful without calibrating the kindness and the truth? Now, here is a power tool, which if you've done any work with us before, you will have seen many times. It's one we go back to time and time again as a lens to just look through in order to try and calibrate our behavior well. So as you can see, the green zone, if you like, the place we all want to be, is in the quadrant called Liberate. And that's where we bring high support with high challenge. It's where we speak the truth kindly. People are growing, that's why it's green. People feel empowered. There's opportunity for the next step, but it's done well. It's done where people feel that you are for them. So that's the zone we want to be in. But we all tend to have a tendency, don't we, to be perhaps somewhere else. And the worst place to be, arguably, is in this abdicate zone. It's grey for death and decay. And in abdicate, when we don't do anything, we don't bring the encouragement that our people need or our family need, we don't bring the challenge that they might need or the correction they might need, then we create cultures of apathy and low expectation, and nothing actually grows there. And we may be in that zone with a particular person today. We may be in that zone at a particular time of day or in a particular area of our life. But hopefully we're not in there for too long. Usually that's more likely when we're under stress or have been in a place of long-term difficulty. But where we can often land, especially if we're nice people who are kind, we can often plump for that upper left quadrant, the protect quadrant. Sometimes we can even think this is the most preferable place to be, in a place where we bring high support, loads of encouragement, loads of high fives, you're awesome, you're amazing, well done, well done, well done, without the kind of constructive feedback, without speaking the truth, without helping that person who has broccoli in their teeth to remove the broccoli. First of all, to locate where the broccoli is. We all have broccoli in our teeth, by the way. But how do you feel when you've been having lunch and then you disappear into the loo at the end of the lunch and you see you've got a great big piece of basil stuck on your front tooth and no one has told you? You know, it's gutting. And it's like that, isn't it, in our leadership as well? We don't want people to only be kind. We want them to speak the truth in a nice way. Because when they do that, what they do is when they just bring the support without the challenge, what they create is this culture of entitlement. You know, we spoil people. And actually, then they can never go and work anywhere else because they will feel as though they are being dominated by any little tiny piece of challenge when it comes. It also creates mistrust because actually protect quadrants are where bullies can rise and can hide. And actually then people don't feel safe. And people think, well, that person's allowed to behave in that way and nobody is challenging that behaviour. It's very hard to trust a leader who is allowing that sort of thing to carry on. So we think we might want that, and especially if you're coming in today from a church or a non-profit or a nice organisation with kids, protect can be a tendency for those places. However, there can also be a dominate zone where, and some corporations, some businesses can really, create a brand out of this, where there is high challenge, but there is low support. Okay, where's that work? I wanted it on my desk yesterday. Oh, I needed a bit of help with it. Well, get on with it. This is what's expected of you. So it's that place where we feel that there is lots of high expectation, but no scaffolding. to help us to get there. And all it does is create a culture of fear and manipulation. Yes, we might get the work done. We might get it in on time. Someone, if we're being dominating others, then they might do it for us. But you don't feel easy with them. They don't feel easy with you. And you know it's only been done because you've kind of pulled rank and forced that to happen. Now you can see in these two insert pictures that there's a heart in a head and there's a brain. And actually that's a massive oversimplification, okay? But what happens is personalities who tend to be heart-led, more emotion-driven, the nurturers, the connectors in our terms, they will tend to usually want to bring high support, and they need to be intentional with their challenge. And the opposite way, those who are more of the head-led people, the more they find challenges much more easily. We might call those voices the guardians or the pioneer voices. They will need to be more intentional in the emotional space about how they bring challenge, about doing it kindly. Now, there are exceptions to this because of nurture spaces, because of who has trained us, and also because of what we have done as we've come up in our careers as well, and how intentional we've been. But if we're honest, we will all have a tendency, and we will all have a place where we need to be intentional as well. The idea, though, is always to try to make sure we can bring ourselves into that awesome liberate zone. So just be thinking about this through the lens of feedback. Honest feedback brings liberation. Honest feedback actually puts people into that liberate zone if it is done kindly. Speaking the truth kindly brings that. But it's never going to be easy for us to give it, or for that person on the other side of us. And it's helpful to be reminded of this truth. Growth and comfort do not coexist. They do not coexist. So it's really important to be aware that if we want our people to grow, if we truly want to liberate our people, if we are for them, then we need to allow them to be a bit uncomfortable sometimes. And that's a good thing. So those of us here who are leaders, and we all are leaders, everybody leads themselves at least. And most of us lead teams or individuals, whether that's at home or at work. Those of us who are leaders, we need this leader mindset. We need to fight for the highest possible good in the lives of those who we lead. If we're fighting for their highest possible good, it's a great definition of a liberator, then we want to ask ourselves these three questions in terms of feedback. What specific support and challenge does this person need from me? Be specific. Think, what is it that I can do? Now, if you don't know how to specifically support them or challenge them, then ask them. So question one, have you asked your people, how can I give you support? How can I bring you challenge? How would you like me to bring you challenge? How would you like me to bring you support? I asked a couple of different people this recently, and one of them said, oh, be really gentle with me if you bring me challenge. You know, say some nice positive things first, and then bring the challenge gently. I said, great, that's fine. Wrote it down, got that logged. The other person said, don't namby-pamby around with me. Don't butter me up. Don't do that thing where you tell me all the positives because I know what's coming. Just rip the plaster off. They said, come straight in. Tell me, Gwen, I've got a challenge for you. I'm coming. They'll say, right, great. Then I know what's coming. I can put my armor on. I'm ready to go. I know you're for me. It's fine. Okay, so ask them, because no one is the same and they may well want to receive support and challenge differently. So think about your people. Who are the 5 people in your life who need you to be honest with them about feedback? Ask them. That's number 1. Number 2, now this is the broccoli bit. What is the tendency and pattern most undermining their influence? And I'm just asking you for one. This is a great start for bringing feedback is, you know, if you haven't been bringing feedback for a long time and you're sitting there going, I've been too kind, I've been in the protect quadrant, I've been too supportive, I've got this list of things I've been building over the last 9 months for this person, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to get it all done. No, you know, they will feel dominated. If you move too quickly from protect to liberate, it will feel like dominate. So just pick one thing. What is the tendency and pattern most undermining their influence? You know, what is it? Get specific on it. Do your work. Do your prep. I coach a headmaster and he scripts his one thing for each of his direct reports. I'm going to write it down, I'm going to refine it, and I'm going to make sure that it comes out in the way that I intend it to. I might even practice it with someone to make sure it comes out well. But I'll get clear on that one thing. Make sure you've got your data, make sure you've got the backup in case they ask you for that, but have that really clearly. And then number 3, how do I help them get to the next level? This is a great one because it reminds you to remind them that this is what's at play. Some people really need vision. Why am I doing this? Why do I have to go through this pain of hearing your constructive feedback? Because when you get through this, when you scale this rock face, that's where you can get to tell them what you see in them. I could see you doing this. I can see you really growing in this area. You can become awesome at this space, but here's what you need to know. This is really what you need to do to get there. So tell them you're for them. Remind them you're for them. And that's really, this is the sort of tool to build on that, is the calling up, not out. How do we remind a person that we're for them? Well, if we call them out, they just feel as though we're for ourselves, that we tell them off, it's shaming. But if we call them up, others recognize that we are for them. Think about the gym. If last time you went into a gym and there was a personal trainer there, do they say, you are rubbish? Gosh, you've put on loads of weight. You're so unathletic. What a mess. Or are they there encouraging you? James tells me this story about when he was doing some weightlifting years ago. And it always cracks me up. He had a Scotsman with him, spotting him in the gym. And James started to weightlift and the Scotsman came over and he said, do you want me to spot you? And James said, oh yeah, go on. Thank you. That'd be great. So James starts to powerlift and the Scotsman starts to say, oh yes. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. One more. Give me one more. That's nice. And it's hilarious. And we often use that phrase around our house just for fun. But actually, I always think of him when I think about calling up, that encouragement. Give me one more. And James, I don't want to do one more. No, you got this, James. Give me one more. Calling people up. Come on, you can do this. I know who you can be. And chisel them to get to where they can be. 3 quick tips with calling up, not out. Specify, what exactly is it? And we've already covered that in the previous slide. What is it? Get specific. Quantify. This is an interesting little tip here. Some people find it very hard to know whether the feedback you're giving is a really big wake-up call or whether it's just a small thing. And a lot of people, and just have a feel around, is this your tendency, can catastrophize. As soon as the feedback comes, they're thinking, oh my word, spiral down. I am terrible. They probably want to fire me. This isn't very great. And actually they're going down and feeling like it's the end. So be aware that that person who you're giving feedback to might be catastrophizing. So if you can at least say, this is a small, this is a moderate, or this is a big challenge. I need you to hear it. And if you've already given a small one, it's not been heard, and a moderate one, be honest if actually we're coming into a space now where this is actually quite a big deal now and I need you to hear it. That's the quantify aspect. And then thirdly, rectify. How can I get this better? Help, ideally collaborate with them to put together a plan to be able to improve. Walk with them, hold their hand, be their Sherpa up the mountain to get them to that next stage. They're going to need ladders, they're going to need ice picks to get there, but you can help them. So have a vision. This might be where the prep comes in. Have a vision with what they need to do to take the ground that they need to take in order to be that person of empowerment, for you to empower that person. So briefly, let's summarize before we go into the next breakout room. When giving feedback, be balanced. Celebrate successes and strengths. Remember, 3 stars and wish. Be specific. Highlight a particular behavior or lack with an example. So maybe not peppering them with 9 or 10 examples of how they always do this thing, or they're always late. You were late Tuesday the 17th and Monday the 16th and so on. Actually, give an example, a nice clear example. Be constructive. How can they improve? How can they rectify this? Give them a vision of what it could look like to be better. Be timely. 1 or 2 of you have said this already. Really good. Don't let much time elapse before the feedback, or it will feel unnerving. They'll be worried next week that you're holding things for a few weeks down the line if it doesn't happen quickly. Be present wherever possible. Give constructive feedback in person or on a video call with a follow-up email if needed. Why the follow-up email? Because you need a record, especially if you're a line manager for somebody. It's kind, it's clarifying. It's always nice to be able to say, here's what I think happened there. So it can be brief, not too detailed, but try to just make sure that the key points are there. But wherever you can, try to do it first of all in person or at least on a video call so they can see your expressions and your tone as well. Okay, we're going to pop out of the share. So do grab that screenshot, that summary if you want to. I'll give you just 1 or 2 more seconds to do that. Thinking about those 5 and which one is your learning opportunity for today. Okay, and breakout 2. So capture this question. What do you do well when giving feedback? We're going to start by celebrating ourselves and then grow. What aspect can you improve? So what is one thing? Try to get specific for yourselves today. What's one thing I can do better when I give feedback? And what's one thing I do well, like nature? Speak the truth kindly. We all have those tendencies. Okay, back into the room. Any clarifying questions before we pop into the breakouts? Becca, yeah.
I had 3 of the bits from that slide, but I didn't get all of it. So balance, specific, timely, and there were 2 others, but I didn't write fast enough.
Okay, no worries at all. Balance, specific, timely, constructive, and present.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else need a question before we pop to breakout? Okay, Claire, take it away. We'll see you on the other side. Can't wait to hear what you have to say. So as you go, I'll wave you off with the reminder of what to do. So what are you good at? Celebrate and then grow. What can you improve? Which aspect of feedback can be improved? Did you two get on well? I bet you did.
We did. Good match, thanks.
Yeah. Nice. A quality breakout room right there.
Yeah, it was good. And it was good to hop back in the same one as well. So you're not doing that kind of getting to know you thing.
Yeah. We always have that dilemma. Some people want variety and some people want to go deep. And we thought, let's go deep with this. And I'm glad we did, because I think, Becca, you and Mike leading the way with vulnerability, which has been really helpful. Charlotte, why don't we kick off with you? Anything you've taken on board in terms of giving feedback? What's been helpful?
Yeah, I think. My audio still. I thought I'd muted myself for a moment. I think having courage, being brave, being willing to tackle things. I mentioned to Jenny one of the things I learned very quickly when I had a significant leadership responsibility was if you ignore a problem, it's not going to go away. So dealing with things, and I think the wider team and other people will respect you if you are brave and courageous and willing to tackle things, but being kind as you do, but not kind so that, because you can be kind and courageous rather than apathetic or ignoring something.
Very good. Yes.
And the thing that I think is good, and note to self is keeping a record of things, following up with an email, because sometimes you can think you're having a conversation about a particular thing and you think this is what you discussed, but that may not have been received as such. And also when you share that, the email or the summary, I would say less is more, key points, things that can't be misunderstood, but also invite them to come back to you and say, do you agree this is what we were talking about? Do these sort of actions ring true for you? So that there is that two-way communication.
That's so good, Charlotte. Less is more with the email follow-up. I really like that. Push back if anyone thinks differently. I think that's really helpful. And also invite it. And sometimes you can do that verbally as well at the end of a conversation. You can just check. You can just say, so tell me what you've heard today. And that's a nice opportunity to check they've heard the positives as well as the constructive feedback. I found that to be effective. Great one, Charlotte. Lovely things there. Let's go to the lawyer contingent now over the pond. Rachel and Lance, what are your key takeaways for giving out feedback or receiving? Rachel.
I think the one thing that resonated with us were the quadrants that you showed us. And I think that Lance and I come across to the people we're giving feedback to very differently. I probably tend to lead more with the heart and fall into your upper left quadrant by nature. I think because I'm very good at communicating what somebody's capable of and where they could go and what their potential is. And I don't ever want to do anything to undermine their confidence or make them feel incapable. So I feel like I'm always trying to build people up. So I maybe hold back sometimes on feedback that's something they really need to hear or that can help them get there. And Lance, by nature in what he does, he's constantly giving feedback. His brain's always on and looking for ways to improve. And although he may not intend it, he comes across maybe dominating lower right quadrant. And I think we both need to kind of tweak our technique to kind of get to that upper right quadrant so that we are giving people the information they need and empowering them to get there and doing it kindly.
I love that. Rachel, what a great summary and what a team. I think everyone probably agrees on this call that you're such a great team to have the two things. And that you got some language now to use.
Yeah.
I feel compelled to apologize to Mike. The poor man feels like he's sitting in on a couples therapy. So he did so brilliantly for the record.
Well done, Mike. I'll hopefully be able to come to you towards the end. I just want to hear from Joe because we haven't heard yet from Joe.
Hi.
Hello.
So I have realised from doing this that as a guardian voice, which I am, I have a tendency, because I'm very boundaried and I want to make sure that I've got time to do all the jobs I need to do, I have a tendency to view feedback as one of just those jobs that need doing and actually stop. And I don't really think so much about the feelings or the needs of the person I'm giving that feedback to. So I have got some feedback coming up that I need to give to somebody, and I'm rethinking how to do that. So I was going to do it just as an email, but actually in person would be better and kinder and create that conversation that needs to happen, rather than just sort of lay down my observations and send it off and let them deal with it as best that they can.
Love it, Joe. So being more intentional in the warmth aspect and the personalization aspect, that's your takeaway, Joe. Brilliant. Love that. Rachel, I'm going to come to you next. Liz and Adam, if either of you can take yourself off mute, do so, and then I'll come to you after Rachel.
Yeah, so I didn't do the quiz, so I don't know what voice I am, but I think I have a tendency to be on the more kind side of things. And I mean, I work with a lot of volunteers, so I am aware that they already are volunteering their time. And so whereas I'm the paid person in the role. So when I want to give feedback, I'm kind of also aware of that. I think I give and receive feedback in the same way. So when I'm having received feedback, I tend to dwell a little bit on that I've let people down. And so I then kind of project that when I'm giving feedback. I don't want them to think they've let me down, which they might not because they're different from me. But I think that's kind of the projection of I want them to feel that they're not letting me down. They're doing a wonderful job. I just want them to grow, if that is.
Excellent, Rachel. Love that. So knowing your tendency to bring the high support should help you lean in. And actually, when people with that heart preference do feedback, you generally do it well because that kindness is there. So, I want to receive it from people who have that tendency to protect, because when you go, right, I'm going to be truthful now, you do it really well and kindly. And if you don't do it, it probably ends up with an aggressive outburst, because that's the aggressive bit of passive aggressive, which can be a tendency for heart-led voices. Likewise, if you're a head-led and you tend to bring challenge well, leaning into that warmth, as we've just heard from Jo, what a lovely way to bring the feedback there. Adam, quickly from you. And hello, sorry we can't see you.
It's all right. Sorry, it's my webcam has not worked for a while, so IT have been trying to fix it. It's still not there. So sorry, everyone.
No worries.
I was just saying, I feel the problem that I have when I give feedback is I don't do it on time. And the reason I don't do it on time is because I've almost got two reasons. One, a fear of how it's going to be received, because I'm overthinking it so much about, the best way I describe it is like if you watch Marvel films, like Doctor Strange has 14 million outcomes, and I try and think of, if I say this word, what's the outcome? And that it's more an internal thing that I would say is the issue with me. But I gave Kirsty an example, is that even though I'm scared to give it at work, I'm more than confident giving it on when I'm doing my football coaching. So an example is we had a player trial, and the parent said, "Oh, he's okay. We're just, we think he has ADHD, etc." So when he came to the sessions, it wasn't the right environment for him, and we were doing some more technical work, which was just being really lost on him. And I had to really have a difficult conversation with the parents. It's not the right environment for him, and it was hard for me to say that, because I feel that football is inclusive for everyone. Everyone should have it. But what I was able to do is give them an environment, recommend an environment that was comfortable for them.
Brilliant.
And then the parent was able to come back to me and say, actually, thank you for that. I know it was a difficult thing to do, but you've given us a better option.
Adam, that's so good. Thank you so much, because what you did there was you said, here is a good option. Here is a good way ahead. And it sounds like you did calibrate that support and challenge. Liz, we're coming to you next. If you can come off microphone, we just have 1 minute you have, if that's okay.
Okay, well, I sympathise with Jo also being a guardian, and the tendency is not to open my heart with people. But I think one of the things I need to learn is to be a little more curious, to ask people more questions than to make statements when I'm giving them feedback. I'm also very conscious that I try not to use the word "you never" or "you always," because that implies a fixed state out of which people are going to find it very hard to move. And I think that is actually very important. And the whole business about, perhaps it's not so much what we say, but it is that manner in which we say it is massively important. Am I going at somebody for a challenge with sort of a head-on collision, or am I getting alongside them, knowing that by doing that, I'm going to move them to a better place, which, of course, ultimately is the whole purpose.
So good. Liz, as always, wisdom from you. Imitate. When you hear feedback done well, write it down and use it. That's often a good way, isn't it, of having the phrases to hand. Okay, amazing. Well, we're just coming into close. And as we do, I'd just like to remind you of the intention for today is to find an intervention. So with regards to when you receive feedback, what pattern are you going to put in place? When you give feedback, what tendency are you going to overcome with an intervention? What are you going to do differently as a result of this workshop? And if you do something differently, this is time really well spent, even if it's a small thing. Let's not despise the day of small beginnings. So that's what I'd like you to try and think of, is how can you respond to this? If you've owned a tendency, how can you respond? And the execution part is when you actually do something. You might get out your diary and schedule a time to have that difficult conversation, or to ask for feedback. You might go and produce a feedback form like I'm going to share with you shortly, but just finding a way to do it. So lastly, really just to say a great big thank you. You have really done me such a brilliant favour in being willing to come on this call today to share everything you've shared. I have gleaned so much wisdom from your comments, and I'd love to glean a bit more if you're happy to fill in the short feedback form that Claire is just posting in the chat now. Now, one or two of you have very kindly said you'd like to contribute something. You don't need to at all. But if you did want to, my neighbour Samuel is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful lad. He's actually a carer for his mum as well. And he's been selected, sorry, getting a bit emotional. He's been selected to go to the World Scout Jamboree, and he's raising money. He's doing so well, but he could do a little boost. So if you do have a pot for fundraising of any kind, then this is a really lovely cause. There's a little thing there you can take a photo of, or once again, wonderful Claire is going to post it into the chat now. So if you want to give something, do, but there's no obligation at all. This was a gift and it was free, and it was such a great group. Especially I want to say thank you to you for bringing your vulnerability, just being honest and owning things right from the start with a whole group of strangers. That was really special to be part of. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if anyone wants to hang on, I don't have to rush off if you do want to just have any Q&A to finish. Otherwise, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Laura.
Bye, Jenny. Bye, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye,
Where do
guys.
we find the quiz to do the voices things? I can't remember what I am.
It should be in there, Becca. If on the chat, I did pop it in.
Okay, fine. Sorry,
I know Charlotte said about that as well.
Feedback for no, I can't see it.
Above, okay,
I can just
I'll just
I can just
repost it.
see the feedback.
It might have
form.
been because you were
Not here.
out in the break.
Do grab the links. Anyone else have a question or a comment or? You happy?
Laura, I don't want to keep you long. I just wanted to thank you for including us.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed it. You did such a brilliant job. You always do.
Oh, thank you so much.
I just really, how is your dad doing? I heard he
Thank
had some
you.
surgery recently, and I was just curious.
Yeah,